All right, this is a Kickstart 2026 sponsor spotlight, and I'm joined by John Sriro, who's an attorney from Taft. So thanks for being with me, John.
Hey, Matt, thanks for having me.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
thank you. Thank you. Thanks for your sponsorship. John and Jeremy Bisdorf, his partner from Taft, were sponsors at Kickstart, and John was out doing what he does best and was not able to be with us in person that day, but very much a part of the Oxium ecosystem. You're our go-to guy for cyber legal work. You focus on privacy, data security, technology transactions, and then increasingly, of course, AI governance and compliance. Um, so thanks for being out there fighting the good fight and doing what you were doing that day. But want to make sure people get a chance to get to know you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And likewise, Oxium's part of the Taft ecosystem, especially when it comes to anything related to managed service providers, where when our clients need a managed service provider, or when we have an incident response, we tap into your resources.
Yeah, and I appreciate that very much. So thank you. So we're going to stick with our engage, equip, empower motif. We're going to go with engage. John, helps and who John helps and where he sees risks show up. Equip, some practical takeaways for everybody here that leaders can take away, and then empower. One next step that how we could reach you, and one next step maybe what we can do. So John, would you just tell me in plain English? Somebody meets you for the first time, explain what you do if they didn't understand what I just said.
Sure, absolutely. So I handle technology contracts, data privacy, and cybersecurity issues. Basically, if anybody is entering into, if a company like small to mid cap company is entering into a agreement for the purchase of technology, whether it be software or hardware based, I would help them negotiate the contracts. I would do it both on the vendor and the vendee side, or the service provider and the customer side. I also handle issues related to how a company handles and complies with regulations related to their data, whether it's personal data or it's proprietary data. And I assist clients in responding to data security incidents. They happen a lot, and it's not necessarily anybody's fault, but you have a lot of bad threat actors out there that are tapping into systems, and unfortunately, requires responses that comply with both contractual obligations a company may have and with regulatory obligations.
Got it. What
And
is
we
a?
we
Oh, go
with the
ahead.
data. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah,
No, no, keep going.
yeah. And with the data security response, I mean, it's really important to have a good team involved. Um, Whenever we have a data security incident that involves a wrongful access to the system beyond something that's a result of social engineering, we always bring in Oxium. They have a very fast incident response team, which is great, and they're able to secure the information infrastructure very quickly. So that all goes hand in hand, and we'd like to contract with Oxium so that we keep everything attorney-client privileged, and they run with it, and everything is kept confidential.
Oh, thank you. Well, none of the other sponsors spotlighted me like that, and Oxium. So thank you very much. Um, Hey, let me ask you this: if when a leader thinks legal around cyber and privacy, outside of the whole incident response, which you actually told us that that's something they sometimes miss, is to think call your attorney for that attorney-client privilege. Maybe explain that just a little bit more of how that they can usually miss that, and any other blind spots, around cyber and privacy that a business leader would need to know that maybe they sometimes miss.
Sure. So with the first part, this data security instance, it's very important to maintain the confidentiality of those incidents. So what we do is, in order to maintain work product, not attorney-client privilege, as I previously said, but work product protections, is that we contract directly with Oxium and other vendors, whether it be a PR firm, so that we message things correctly to the public and in a way that doesn't create negative public relations for the company. And that way, we're able to, if we quarterback the incident, we're able to maintain that work product privilege and keep everything confidential, especially if litigation happens to arise. In terms of the blind spots related to data security and technology, the biggest blind spots relate to, just not being prepared for an incident. not knowing whether or not your vendor, your service provider, has the appropriate safeguards in place so that your systems aren't exposed through their shortcomings, or two, if you're the service provider, to make sure that you're not liable for a security incident that really you have no control over. You have threat actors out there that are trying to exploit systems, and you could have the best technology, and a data security incident could still occur. In terms of the data, there's always, what we see is that data is not protected, or it's not, something's not done with the data in terms of the contractual obligations that allow the customer to protect that data and to control that data, and to ensure that things are not done with that data that the customer doesn't want to be done. And those are the biggest blind spots.
And I mean, and examples of that, I mean, can be really large vendors, right? I mean, Equifax back in the day had a big breach. These aren't just necessarily a small vendor who leaves a door open or something like that. This can happen in with Microsoft. It can happen with any of the large SaaS vendors that everybody's buying from, right?
Exactly. And I do a lot of contracts in the electronic payments world, and we see that a lot of the large players, whether it be a bank or a card brand like Visa or Mastercard, they have terms in their agreement that aren't necessarily consistent with the permissions and consents that the customer agrees to. So just from a processing a payment perspective, there's a lot of issues that should be covered.
Sure. And then AI, I mean, moving at light speed. What does AI governance mean in practical terms for a normal, you know, Detroit-based 50, 100, 200 person organization? What does that? What does AI governance mean?
Sure. So what we like to do with AI governance, basically, it means how AI is used within an organization, and we're not privy to the technology that goes behind an organization's infrastructure, and that's why we rely upon, like for instance, Axiom to prepare the initial governance documents, and then we review it from a legal compliance perspective, and we find that synergy ensures that, one, we're getting the business terms and the technology under correct, and that we're able to apply legal principles to ensure that technology usage is in compliance with whatever regulations or contractual obligations a customer has or a client has.
So words like people would hear there when somebody talks about an acceptable use policy or an AI governance policy, it's basically just simply saying, here you are, Mr. Employee or teammate, this piece of equipment, this is how you can use it. You can't use it for doing bad things, um,
Right.
or if it's an AI policy, it's protecting from data going to places that maybe the company doesn't know, or sharing something that the company might have a contractual obligation to its client to not send that out. And so that's where the AI piece can really get people in trouble, is if they're using it without those guardrails. So that's what that policy would line up to do.
Absolutely.
And
Exactly.
you'll make sure that it's lined up with, hey, we promised a customer this, so therefore we can't do this with this particular product.
Exactly. I mean, we see a lot of contracts where the customer, we're representing the service provider, and the customer states, you can't use our data with any AI. Or if you are using it through AI, it has to be through these parameters. So we're seeing that more and more.
Got it. All right. Well, we got to wrap up. So give me one action item that a leader can take this week, something that meaningfully would reduce, a legal or regulatory risk, or reduce their risk to cyber AI policies or privacy policies. Give me one. Give me one thing.
Sure. If you're a customer and you're receiving like SaaS services from a service provider, it's very important to ensure that that SaaS service provider has the appropriate data security safeguards in place, because it's becoming increasingly an issue with whether or not the customer actually did their due diligence related to the SaaS service provider's data security.
So an example of that could, I mean, we could pick on even the biggest of the big, right, and say,
Right.
is that when they're looking at a Microsoft agreement? Is that when they're looking at, what's an example of it? Obviously, you don't have to use a name, but
Sure, I'll use the name Blackbaud, one of the biggest data security incidents in history.
okay,
They had their contracts had no obligations related to data security or what would happen in the event that a data security event occurred, and as a result, you had a lot of schools and hospitals whose personal information was compromised because a lot of people, a lot of these organizations rely upon Blackbaud.
yep, yep, yep. We see it all the time. I mean, people putting information into a Google sheet that's run by Gemini on the back end and giving all the information away. So it happens. And so thank you, John. Thanks for the tips and tricks. Thanks for supporting our whole community with your involvement with Kickstart 2026, and thanks for being you.
Thanks too, Matt. Appreciate you too.
All
Thank you.
right, take care.